peers, and there's an open dialogue, there's a constructive dialogue. The US used to be looked at as a leader from securities regulation and protecting consumers. I think it's become a political liability. The way the SEC has approached this in the United States, we are looked at here in the US relative to other countries as stuck. You know, just we are not leading, and even worse, it's just kind of looked at. The other countries are absolutely leading. The UK, I mean, I happen to be going to the UAE later today, but I could name 5 or 6 countries, Japan, even Australia, Switzerland, Singapore. I mean, these are all countries that are leading. And by virtue of that, you're seeing capital investment, you're seeing entrepreneurs set up shop in those countries because the rules are clear.
I want to come back to that rest of the world versus the U.S. point, but just to clarify something quickly, because you just said you'll take it to the Supreme Court if you have to. You will ride this out, fight it in the court until it is done if the SEC appeals. There's no chance that you would end up settling in some way.
Well, that's a slightly different question. I mean, look, we've talked a little bit about this publicly now. I was offered the ability to settle prior to, you know, they didn't just sue Ripple, they sued me.
Yes.
And they sued
dropped
Chris Larson.
that now, right?
That has all been all dropped with prejudice. And so, you know, look, that feels really good. Asterisk, it feels like, how did we end up here? Like, what you sued me as if it was clear I had to knowingly know that XRP was a security and act recklessly to not know. Again, people here in the law know more about this than I do, but like, there was no chance they were going to win that. And pushing it the way they did, it just feels like the SEC should be part of the solution. Other countries, it's no problem. And you joke, I mean, I think you were joking to my meeting with the SEC today. In another country, that wouldn't, I mean, I've met with central banks, I've met with, I mean, you name the regulator, and it's kind of like, yeah, no problem. And an open meeting, open dialogue. We talk about what Ripple's doing, we talk about our view on the crypto industry, no problem. Here in the US, it's like, you know, it's like, oh, the laws are clear, but yet we can't answer, is ETH a security?
Yeah, that's something that the chairman has still not actually
I don't
expressed
know
an
if you're
opinion
today,
on.
but ask him again today.
Maybe I'll find him behind the curtain somewhere. I'll let you know. Okay, so let's go back to the U.S., the rest of the world topic, as you were just discussing it there. Where do you think the best example is being set? What should the U.S. be trying to replicate? Or does the U.S. just need to be doing something different, but taking that regulatory approach differently?
I partly because they're, you know, a close economic and political partner to the U.S. The United Kingdom, the UK, I think, has been very constructive on crypto, and that, you know, again, when I say that, they're not, you know, again, Chair Gensler likes to talk about crypto as the Wild West. It is absolutely not the Wild West. You know, Ripple is a regulated company in many jurisdictions around the world. Again, in Singapore, we have our license from MAS as a major payments provider. In the UK, we have, well, in Dubai, we've applied for the virtual asset regulatory, VARA, I can't remember what the A stands for. But, you know, it's not the Wild West, and I think it's a narrative to promote, I guess, a political agenda as opposed to sound policy. And, you know, I think there's still time for the U.S. to remain a key leader in this space, and some of the most important crypto companies in the world are based here in the United States. But, you know, if Brian Armstrong were up here today, I think he would say as well, you know, does he wish he had gone public in a different jurisdiction in the United States? And the SEC approved his S1, but then sued him for doing things they knew he was doing. How does that make sense?
Okay, so you just said you think there is still time for the U.S. to be a leader. How much time is still time?
Yeah.
Like, where in the hourglass are we?
Well, I mean, look, I want to be realistic about this. The United States is, what, 23% of global GDP. Like, if the U.S. gets its act together years from now, it's such an important economic actor that it feels like that option always exists because of where the U.S. stands in a global GDP point of view. And it is really the finance capital of the world. But there are other finance capitals of the world. And certainly Dubai is, you know, trying to emerge even more so. Singapore for sure, London for sure. And not surprisingly, you know, I've said publicly, 80% of Ripple's hiring this year will be outside the United States. And it's partly because, why would I want to hire more and more people in the United States when the U.S. is making it hostile for me to operate here? And even with the SEC case, I mean, we have U.S. banks as customers. And, you know, I've talked to them post the SEC case, and I'd say, you know, okay, so great, now we have a product called on-demand liquidity, which uses XRP. And so I'll go to those banks and say, should we engage on that topic? And they're like, look, even though you won the case, the United States government is still hostile towards crypto. The OCC is hostile towards crypto. And until that changes, the banks of the United States are not going to engage meaningfully. So I don't think the window has passed for the U.S. to be a leader, but I think every day that goes by, these other markets, they want the entrepreneurs there. They want growth. And again, I'm mentioning Singapore, London, and Dubai as three key examples, but I mean, the Ripple's London office is our second largest office.
Well, that's a really good point. And to your point of your hiring